Hey guys, Troy here from Cape Ann Conversations, and today I've got Lauren Campbell of Campbell Funeral Home to tell us the story. Lauren, I'm going to let you say hello to everybody, and then I tend to jump into the history.
Okay,
This has a
that
long
sounds great.
history, so this is great.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name's Lauren Campbell with Campbell Funeral Home. We have 3 locations in Beverly, Gloucester, and Ipswich. And thank you so much. I just want to say thank you so much for having me here today. I always love a new opportunity to meet new people and experience something new. So this is exciting. Thank you.
Yeah, it's fun to have all of our local businesses on,
Mhm.
and not everybody's thinking about their funeral, right? They get stuck in the day to day, and then every
Definitely.
once in a while you pop into a funeral, and it's not necessarily frontal lobe, but we're gonna jump into it today to try to break down that barrier because there's some real advantages
hmm
to actually being proactive here. Um, but if we can, we're gonna look backwards at the history because Campbell is your 5th generation
Yes,
in this business.
that's correct. Yes.
So give us a little history lesson on Campbell.
Yeah, absolutely. So Campbell Funeral Home has been around for around 250 years. It started back with my great great grandfather, Jeremiah Desmond. Um, he was a funeral director for the local funeral home at the time. He owned a horse and buggy, and that funeral home would hire him to come be a funeral director. Um, Back in the day, there really wasn't a lot of money in society, so there were a lot of debts going around. So Jeremiah, that funeral home who would hire him, didn't pay him for some time, and as in exchange for that debt, that funeral home actually gave their funeral home to my great grandfather in exchange for payment. So that's how Jeremiah went from funeral director who owned a horse and buggy to then funeral home owner. And his daughter, Jeremiah's daughter, married my great grandfather, Charlie Campbell. And that's when, back in the day, it was a male centric society. So that Desmond name turned to Campbell Funeral Home. And that's where Campbell Funeral Home really started. Um, so, yes, we've been in Beverly for many years.
And this is right now it's currently the funeral home next to Shore Country Day.
That's correct. So
So
we're,
everybody knows that one.
yes, right next to Shore Country Day School on Cabot Street. That's not where we originally started. We originally started downtown Cabot Street, and my grandfather, Frank Campbell, made the decision to purchase the old Winslow estate and turn that into a funeral home. So that was a big deal back then because really when you thought of Beverly, you thought of downtown, and it was a little risky going up to North Beverly. So that was really his big generational move of his time. So we've been there ever since 1968, I believe. Yes, and my father, Glenn Campbell, took over after my grandfather, Frank. And he really elevated our family business to where it is today. He really is and was a forward thinker. At one point, there were 5 funeral homes in Beverly. Now we're the only one. A lot of family-owned funeral homes started selling and going out of business. And my dad basically acquired some of those funeral homes in Beverly. And then in 2019, we acquired the Pike Funeral Home on Middle Street in Gloucester. My dad has had a lot of ties to Gloucester and really loves it up here. He went to actually the St. Peter's boys' school, Blackburn Circle. I know it
Okay.
didn't last too long. It was a school for about 5 years, but he has a lot of connections from that school.
Yeah, and I know people still call it Pikes, but
Yes,
but it
yes,
has officially changed hands. It's tough to get. Sometimes Gloucester has a long, rich history, and the names
yes.
don't change until the generations change. And
Yeah, definitely. And we still, if someone says Pike's Funeral Home, we understand that that is us. But we are officially Campbell Funeral Home on Middle Street. But the Pike Funeral Home history is pretty fascinating, and that building is absolutely beautiful. And the history of the street. I'm just really fascinated when I see the old photos of that street of how it looked like in the 1900s. It's pretty cool.
yeah, and then you also have Ipswich.
Ipswich, that's correct. On 6 High Street in Ipswich, it was the Whittier Porter Funeral Home, and that was a really nice family-run funeral home by the Porter family. Um, and the Porter family didn't have a succession plan, and we acquired that in 2023. So we serve the greater Beverly, greater Gloucester, Cape Ann regions, and Ipswich. And it's the families we meet and really the communities that we've entered up here has been really nice.
Yeah, yeah, and fifth generation is just so impressive. I mean, it's in a business that not everybody is going into, right? And there's a lot,
Yes.
as you said, there's a lot that are closing, and there's no successor
Mm-hmm.
to take over, and so it's starting to roll into your family, and maybe you'll end up with a sixth generation yourself because
I
you've got a
know.
few kids
Yes, yes.
kicking around as well.
Yes.
Um, when you look at the history, did something change in it that made this like consolidation happen other than those people than there not being successors? Was there something that the industry did that was different? Like, was it the private equity firms were paying money to buy them, or like I don't why not?
Yeah, that's a really great question because I personally don't see why anyone would want to give up their family history if you could continue it. But a lot of when you don't have a succession plan, that's a simple answer of why the funeral home mom and pops would sell.
You would think of
Um,
all the people that should have succession plans, it would be funeral home
yes,
directors.
yes, but unfortunately, some of them do get passed down to the children, and these large corporate firms do approach these families and they make quite a big offer to purchase their business. And unfortunately, these funeral homes do sell. It's becoming a quite popular trend. A lot of people don't know about. There's a big corporate nationwide business corporation that has been purchasing these family funeral homes.
Yeah, because the industry's not going away. It's like garbage industry. It's just we're always going to have people dying and people needing services. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just inevitable. It's just part of life, I guess you could say.
Yes, it is. It's an unfortunate part of life that a lot of people don't like to think about. And unfortunately, people don't really think twice of a funeral home or funeral director or what the funeral home does or what your relationship with a funeral director will be like until that uh, tragedy has occurred. And you don't realize the importance of that relationship and the information that you will need at that time, the decisions that you'll need to make, and the um, financials around that decision that you'll need to make as well. And unfortunately, families are having to come up with this information, make these serious decisions. Um, with not a lot of information about their loved one who passed away, not knowing their wishes, not knowing if there is a family lot in a cemetery, if their mother or father wanted to be cremated or buried. There's a lot that goes into this, a lot of decision making, and unfortunately, these families need to make these decisions when they're grief stricken, when they're scatterbrained, when they're not sleeping well, when there's a rift in their family, when they're having to make decisions with a sibling they haven't seen in 20 years. So it's a very difficult time, and we're seeing this more and more. Um, these family dynamics and the stress and angst that's occurring.
Yeah. And you guys have, or you guys recommend this pre-planning. Maybe you can
Yes.
talk a little bit about sort of like that, like what's going on today, the pre-planning aspects, along with all of the different services that you can sort of address with them to try to get ahead of this.
Yes, absolutely. And we always recommend it. There's an extreme benefit to coming into a funeral home, seeing what that funeral home is like, meeting that funeral director, coming in, sitting down, and expressing your wishes, um, expressing your family's cemetery lot, who the lot owner is. Do you have the deed? Do you have the lot information? Do you have rights to that lot? Do you have coming in with your grandparents' information and where they were born, your social security number? There's a lot of information that we will ask that a lot of people don't frankly know, and it's okay to not know. You're not going to go through your life finding this information for no reason, but when it comes to that point, the funeral home will need it, and a lot of families are scrambling to find this information. It's
And
actually,
and how
Mhm.
is this different than someone's will? Because it is different,
It's
or it
absolutely
can be
different.
different, I guess.
Yes. So a will state someone's power of attorney, who is responsible of their estate, who's responsible of their finances. And a lot of people do not know that power attorney actually ends upon the death of that person. So when a death occurs, the power of attorney doesn't actually have any rights in decision making, and that is really some information that's not known. So a will really focuses on the person's estate, finances, what they own, um, their healthcare proxy. But unless there's not specific wording in that will in regards to that person's right of disposition, it needs to say that the executor is in charge of right of disposition. If it doesn't say that, the next of kin is in charge. And that can complicate a lot of situations for families because a lot of time, legal next of kin is actually not someone you want in charge of your funeral arrangements and funeral dispositions, unfortunately. So a will is a lot different than pre planning. If you are in a state of meeting with an estate planner, creating a will, that's excellent. Everyone should have one. But the next step is to pre plan your funeral and pre fund that funeral. If you do that, you're really relieving the burden from your surviving kin, really your children. It can be a very hectic and stressful situation, and it's really night and day for the families who come in having it pre-planned, pre-funded versus coming in right after a time of tragedy.
Would somebody write in their will, like, all of these decisions have been made at Campbell Funeral Home, so that if somebody gets this will or gets notified, that they would know to go to you? Like, how, like, if mom dies, how how would you know, or they know to go to you?
Yes, that's a great question. Any information in a will is very important, but these conversations should be happening before, even before someone falls ill. It's a lot easier to talk about death, passing, funerals, finances, just how we're sitting down right now. We're not experiencing um, a time sensitive event. We're not experiencing grief, you and I. So it's much easier to just sit and talk about this. So I always encourage family members to be talking to one another. over a cup of coffee or just casually driving around or at lunch, just very casually start asking these questions, and come into a funeral home and ask your local funeral director these questions. Go in with your parents, go in with your family all together so there's no confusion. Um, another benefit of pre-planning is you lock in today's pricing. A lot of industries in 2025, I mean, we all feel it, we all see it. Inflation has really hurt a lot of people out here. Prices continually go up for every industry. So that's the same for a funeral home. When you do come in and prepay, it locks in today's pricing for the funeral home side of things.
What is like a range of a funeral from a pricing perspective to put it in the, like, just to put it out there?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a really great question because a lot of people don't know. It's not their job to know. That's our job to educate and explain. Really, the wide range. There's a very different price range between cremation, a simple cremation, and burial. But services can range from $3,000 to around $12,000, and that really depends on what you and your family choose as far as disposition, as far as having services inside the funeral home or a funeral mass at a church.
You guys actually have very nicely transparent pricing right on your website too,
Oh, yes.
which is incredible because it's just out there. There's nothing to try to guess at. Now I was on there myself, and you can almost choose to elect for a lot of very specific things. I saw like even a casket could range from like $1,400 to $40,000.
Oh, yes, yes.
And so it's sort of choose your own adventure here at some level as well. So not to like put words in your mouth on a pricing perspective, but it's very personal as to how you want to go about that. And that may be a big thing, right? It's like if you can go and decide what's important to you and take the pressure off of your family, and now your family is not during grief bickering about whether we choose this really expensive casket versus this cremation process and like it's just you can imagine the weight that can put on people. And so it's that, I think that's where the encouragement to coming in dealing with this is. I mean, if you want to stick your kids with it, like as a last spiteful thing, maybe you just leave it.
I know.
But maybe not, because like you said, it's like come in and deal with it. You actually you were mentioning this when we were talking before. You can kind of clean this up, but there's an event that you guys are doing in June as well. I think you called it a pre-need seminar at Cruiseport. Maybe you can talk a little bit more about that event, and that'll help people maybe have something to go to.
Absolutely. So we do host what we call pre-need seminars every so often. We try to do about 2 to 3 a year, and we'll at various locations. So on June 18th, it's a Wednesday at 11 o'clock at Cruiseport, we host a lunch, and it's very casual. It's really while you folks are really catching up with whoever you brought there to have lunch and mingle. We do a seminar on PowerPoint and just explain the benefits of pre-planning just to start that conversation. And it's not really to present and say, hey, you need to pre-plan today. It's really to just start the conversation, to plant that seed that it is something that people should be educated on, to start talking to family members about. And it's a very casual, relaxed event, and it's a really great way to start establishing a relationship with a funeral home, and at the bare minimum, just learn some information that you didn't know.
Yeah, you can ask questions, or if you don't want to ask questions, you can listen to the questions that other
Hmm.
people have that may answer your own questions. And so it's an event, and you guys will be doing more of them too in the future. So,
Yes,
um,
absolutely.
right here
And
in our backyard.
oh yeah.
And a free lunch?
Yes, absolutely. And I'm always, I enjoy them thoroughly. I really enjoy having conversations with people and just to be that person people can feel comfortable asking anything about. Um,
Yeah, you're a therapist at
yeah.
some level for all these families in town, really
Yeah.
serving our family. I think that's probably going to be the key differentiator that people come in and have an experience with Campbell is probably how family owned, operated, and how deep you guys are and have been in this community. That's just that's going to play through. If it's
Hmm.
a corporate entity, you're not going to get that same sort of care, and the
Hmm.
multi-generational experience that you can call on. I mean, your dad did it for his whole career, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
He's still there to call on him for advice. That's powerful. I
Yeah.
think that's the staying power that we have right here, in Cape Ann. The community usually supports those businesses.
Yeah. In Gloucester and Cape Ann, I really have a lot of respect for this community, even what you're doing today. Not a lot of communities have or promote their local businesses the way Cape Ann does. Cape Ann's very focused on getting to know each other, who's down the road from you, who can help you when you need to. And I think that is the beauty about this community and area. It's very unique, and I don't see it in other areas.
Do you guys need anything from this community? Like let's say you probably have people that like valet cars. Are there needs in your business today that you're almost like hiring for? So if somebody was like, "Hey, I wouldn't mind working there, and I need a part-time job or a full-time job." Are there things like that you need right now?
Yeah, so we are always open to making new connections. We are always on the lookout for per diem and part-time help. I know there's really a wide range of positions that we fill. And that per diem position, I find a lot of folks who are college students in school or recently retired, looking for a supplemental income, or really just looking for something to do, find a purpose after their lengthy career. A lot of folks do enjoy this role. It can be very interactive, working wakes by the door, just as a greeter, whether you're in a parking lot assisting with parking. There's a lot of opportunity to feel a part of the community by working for a funeral home. That can be pretty social and rewarding.
And if you're really ambitious and you show purpose, you can develop in the industry. We were talking about this, how you can actually, get almost like a degree
Hmm.
in this career category and move up and become an executive director. There's a very formal career path
Hmm.
for
Oh,
people to.
absolutely. We have someone who works for us right now. He started washing cars, working in the parking lot, assisting with vehicles at age 16. Now he is an adult, a fully licensed funeral director, making a good living here with us. So it's nice to see these relationships established and nice to see people really climb the ladder in this unique industry. And a way to do that is you would first establish a relationship with a funeral home. You would go and enter a funeral service program. There's actually one right now at North Shore Community College that's becoming quite popular. So you would enter a funeral service program, receive an apprenticeship through a funeral home, and then pass school, pass your final exams, pass the state boards, and eventually be sworn in as a funeral director, and that can take about 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
So it's more than people think. There's more to it than people think, but it can be very rewarding, and I see that often.
Yeah. Well, where can everybody find you? What would be their next step if we've convinced them to do some pre-need work here? What's the web address?
Yes, so it's www.campbellfuneral.com. The first step really would to be take a peek at our website. We show our staff, we show our pricing, we show pictures of our locations.
If I remember correctly, there's even some forms, like sort of like Google forms. You can throw in some quick
Yes.
information that just gets the ball rolling. And then does that go to you or?
Yeah, so in our pre-planning section, there's an online form that you enter in the information that I was lightly speaking of when we first began talking. So it prompts you the information that we will need for legal documents and for our records. So you would complete that form and submit it through our website, and that goes right to our office, and our pre-planning director would be reaching out.
Is there any cost to having that conversation?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Nope.
So there's no barrier to getting information on this, guys. Just
Absolutely not.
if it interests you to take this on for your family's sake, give Lauren a call. And I appreciate you coming on here, Lauren, and telling the family story. And
Yes. That's been really
hopefully,
nice.
hopefully we have another 250 years,
know.
ahead of you in
Yeah.
the family there. So I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.